I'm Rick Whitaker, and this is Literate Sleep. Tonight I'll read my anti-celebration of Father's Day, a text I've compiled over many years that was inspired by the late works of novelist David Markson. Fathers and Sons presents fathers and fatherhood at their worst. I realize, of course, that not all fathers are execrable, and few are even exemplary, if not even virtuous. I am blessed to have an unofficially adopted father who has saved my life countless times and is the person I go to for answers when I'm most at a loss. He has never failed me, and I salute Dennis Snell in Dayton, Ohio. He has my lifelong devotion and love. I hope you too have a good father figure in your life, but actual biological fathers, in my own experience, have been more trouble than they were worth, and the text I'll read now proves it. I hope you'll enjoy the story, even if there's little in it that's enjoyable. It's meant, among other things, to be funny. So I invite you to lie down and get comfortable, settle in, close your eyes, and get some good literate sleep. Fathers and Sons by Rick Whitaker. This boy will come to nothing, said Freud's father. Fighting with his wife, drunk, Paul Verlaine threw their 3-month-old son against a wall. W.G. Sebald's father joined the Reichswehr in 1929 and remained in the Wehrmacht under the Nazis. He was captured by the French and remained a prisoner of war until 1947, when his 4-year-old son met him for the first time. A disgraced Nazi, Sebald's father. Having discovered in 1590 that his wife had a lover, Carlo Gesualdo had the man murdered. Then Gesualdo killed his wife himself, stabbing her repeatedly while shouting, "She's not dead yet." He dressed the slaughtered man's corpse in the dead woman's bloody nightgown, and then killed his own youngest son, an infant, on the chance that the boy was not his biological progeny. John Berryman's name was originally John Smith. He adopted his stepfather's name when his mother remarried, within weeks of his father's suicide when the future poet was 12. Karl Ove Knausgaard, My Struggle, Volume 1, Part 2, His Father Dead from Drink. You're only ever as happy as your least happy child. Thomas Hardy may have had an illegitimate son by a cousin named Tryphena Sparks. Jean Genet's mother was a single young maid who arranged to have him adopted when he was 7 months old. He died on April 15th, 1986, the day I turned 18, the year my father abandoned me. Dostoevsky's father was the resident physician at a hospital for the poor, but he treated his own serfs so abusively that a group of them ultimately murdered him. The father saw him coming back. He looked, he ran, he smiled. He throws his arms around the neck of his rebellious child. "Father, I've sinned, but oh, forgive." "Enough," the father said. "Rejoice, my house, my son's alive, for whom I'd mourned as dead." When Dickens, at 12, worked from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m., 6 days a week, at the blacking factory, he also walked an hour each way to and from his family's Camden Town slum, and spent Sundays visiting his father in debtor's prison. Sir Thomas Browne wished that men could reproduce without intercourse, like trees, he suggested, fathering 12 children nonetheless. Ezra Pound put his son Omar into other people's care as an infant. He saw him once for a few hours when the boy was 12, and not again until he was 20. Jean-Jacques Rousseau's mistress, Thérèse Levasseur, was an illiterate hotel maid. She and Rousseau had 5 children, all of whom he left anonymously at orphanages. When Hemingway committed suicide, it was by leaning to press his forehead against the barrels of a shotgun braced at the floor. 30-odd years earlier, his father had used a revolver. Shakespeare's only son, Hamnet, died of unknown causes at 11. In 1919, Kafka, in his mid-30s, wrote a 100-page letter to his father in which he grappled accusingly with their difficult, unsatisfying relationship. He entrusted the letter to his mother, asking her to deliver it. But after reading it herself, she returned it to her son. Kafka's father never saw it, nor even heard of it. Beethoven's father died a sodden drunk, aged 51. Byron Keith Perkins convinced a judge he was going to donate a kidney to save the life of his critically ill son. He was in jail awaiting his sentence on a gun and drug conviction for which the minimum prison sentence is 25 years. But once out of jail, Perkins and his girlfriend drove to Puerto Vallarta in her Ford Crown Victoria, Kentucky plates. When you lie down with dogs, you get up with fleas, being one among Kafka's father's habitual admonitions. Mozart's father, a composer, was Wolfgang's only childhood teacher, but by the time he was 10, the prodigy had long surpassed his father. In 326, Constantine the Great had his eldest son put to death by cold poison. He forbade the people of the Holy Roman Empire to remember him. Once I whimpered long in the night for water, not from thirst, but probably in part to anger you and in part to entertain myself. After threats had failed to help, you took me out of my bed, carried me to the courtyard balcony, and left me there alone in my shirt outside the closed door. I won't say that you were wrong. Perhaps that was the only way to get some peace in the night. But I will say that it characterized your education methods and their effects on me. I was from then on obedient, but I had an inner scar. Due to my nature, it was impossible to link these things in the right way. The senseless asking for water, which to me seemed normal, and being carried outside, which filled me with terror. And for years I was tormented by the thought that this giant man, my father, could almost without reason come to me in the night and lift me out of bed and leave me on the balcony. He was my final court of appeal, and for him I was such a nothing. Kafka. 2 of Thomas Mann's 3 sons committed suicide. T.E. Lawrence was the first of 5 sons, all born out of wedlock. Their mother was herself illegitimate, the young governess of Lawrence's older sisters. My father, Butch, was inducted into the Greater Cincinnati Softball Hall of Fame on January 27, 2013. I can't think of anything that would be greater, he is reported to have said at the ceremony, than being selected for the Greater Cincinnati Softball Hall of Fame. Hart Crane's father, an Ohio businessman, invented and patented lifesavers, and then sold the patent for $2,900. He was deep in debt when he died many years later, less than a year before his son, 32 and penniless, and arguably the best American poet then alive, either jumped or was thrown from the SS Orizaba off the coast of Florida, where he drowned, and was probably eaten by sharks. His body was never found. Thomas Bernhard's father, a carpenter, died of gas poisoning, his illegitimate son never having met him. According to legend, Dante's ghost appeared to his son Pietro in a dream and told him where to find the last 13 cantos of the Paradiso under a tapestry hanging in a house where Dante had formerly lived. When Pietro went to the location described by his father's ghost, he found the manuscript and the Divine Comedy was completed. At the age of 7 or 8, Sigmund Freud once deliberately urinated on the floor of his parents' bedroom. Ivan Sergeyevich Turgenev, author of Fathers and Sons, never married and had no son. Leonardo da Vinci's father had 4 wives, none of whom was Leonardo's mother, a peasant. There was no English translation of Oedipus Rex until a full century after the death of Shakespeare. A fatherly type, Knut Hamsun called Hitler. Days of Obligation, Richard Rodriguez's argument with his Mexican father. Xenophanes, who lived to be 100, and buried all of his sons, as did Anaxagoras. Bach had 20 children, of whom 9 survived. Mozart had 6, of whom only 2 lived beyond infancy. Rudyard Kipling's only son was killed fighting with the Irish Guards in World War I. D.H. Lawrence's father was illiterate, as was Giuseppe Verdi's and Abraham Lincoln's. Tolstoy, Marx, and Ibsen had illegitimate sons they never acknowledged. There is too much fathering going on just now, and there is no doubt about it, fathers are depressing. Gertrude Stein.